Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for having me here. I'm happy to be here. As Lindsay said, my name is Charmaine Jennings, and I describe myself as a multi-passionate person. I do a lot of things, but I think it's important to kind of take it back to the beginning. That's you. Thank you. So of course I'm here to talk about rhythm as consistency and creativity. And for me to do that, I just wanted to kind of tell you my story of kind of how I got to where I am today and how rhythm and creativity played a role into who I am now. So growing up, my beautiful mother, Veronica, she was definitely my inspiration, and she was someone who really pushed herself to insert creativity into our little family. She was a single mother. I'm an only child as well, so we have a really close relationship. So she always made sure that, she gave me tons of attention and tried to make every day special for me in the most creative ways she possibly could. Some of these ways included creating a new board game called Goof Attack that we created together. We went to, I think it was a Buck or Tubes, what it was called before Dollarama. Got a bunch of supplies, made this game. I made all my friends come over and play it. They didn't care for it too much, but I liked it, so we played it anyways. She would also be that mom who, made all my birthdays special. I remember one birthday, I lived right across the street from my elementary school. I think I was in grade 2 or 3. And she made me a beautiful lunch at home and literally walked across the street with my lunch on a literal silver platter with candles and flowers and everything, and walked into my classroom, made everything so special for me. And that's just who she was. She was a very creative person. And because of her, that's where a lot of my creativity also came from. Now, continuing to talk about birthdays, I remember very vividly when I was 12, again, birthdays are a big deal to me because of my mom. When I was 12, I was very excited to turn 12. And we had a new girl in school whose birthday was around the same time as my birthday. And coincidentally, we planned to celebrate our birthdays on the same day. And I politely said, hey, you know what? I think one of us should probably move our party. And I think it should be you. And of course she was reluctant. She's like, you know what? Like we booked out wheelies and we have a whole big thing happening, and I just can't, we can't push it. Like, I don't want to push it. And I got very sad because, wheelies was a big deal at the time. And we lived in like a 2-bedroom apartment. I'm like, who's going to want to come to our apartment over going to wheelies where there's going to be so many games and treats and things like that. So I came home and I was crying and bawling my eyes out. My mom said, Charmaine, don't worry, we got this. I'm like, I don't know what that means, but okay. So my mom, she designed, I don't know what platform it even was, maybe it was Word, I don't know what it was, but she designed a whole bunch of flyers for my birthday, and I plastered them all over school. We even changed our answering machine to talk about my birthday. So every time you call, you would hear Charmaine's birthday extravaganza is coming up on March 12th. And she really put a lot of marketing effort into this party, which is where I get my love of marketing from. So I was excited. I didn't think it would work entirely. I did think, okay, we'll get a few, classmates coming to my birthday, and that's great. And then people showed up and we were having a lot of fun. And then we heard a knock at the door, and I'm like, who's at the door? Like, everyone, I think, is here. I don't know. And then it was that girl who was supposed to have a party at Wheelies. So unfortunately, no one went to her birthday, but she did come to my birthday and she had a blast and we became great friends. But the point of the story is, my mom is where I get my love of marketing from and where my creativity really stems from. She's also someone who inspired me to be an entrepreneur. Growing up, she had a variety of different jobs and she started her own series of different businesses. She was on her own healthcare journey, so she started becoming a fitness instructor and teaching her own classes and things like that, and I would follow her around. I loved being her assistant and helping her print things out and stuff envelopes and get ready for newspaper interviews and TV interviews and things like that, and I loved being around that energy. So the idea of entrepreneurship was in me since I was a child. When I was 9 years old, I decided it was time, finally, to start my own talent agency. It was a long time coming. So what I did is I gathered some of my closest friends, and this is me when I was 9, very cute. I gathered my closest friends and I said, okay, I'm starting this talent agency. You guys are gonna be the talent. I'm also gonna be the talent. And we are going to create like a Spice Girls cover band, cover group. And of course, I was probably Scary spice, yes. But what I did is I made sure I was in charge for all the marketing for that event. So I got some green construction paper and I drew on it with marker and I made little tickets for this event. And each ticket was gonna be $1. And I sold 5 tickets, which to me, my first time out was pretty good. We went to the park on like a Saturday afternoon. Nobody showed up, but hey, we still made $5. That was my very first business adventure. I also then started a babysitters club. Again, got my friends together and said, hey, listen, we're gonna go take our St. John's ambulance certification together. We're gonna make flyers. We're gonna put them around the town and create this babysitting business. And again, I was only 12 years old and we actually got business. Looking back at it now, I'm surprised that people let 12-year-old strangers watch their babies, but we did it and we did a great job. But it was something that was actually profitable for us. It was fun. And I really enjoyed the process of setting all that stuff up. And again, those are just things that I'll always remember and that played a pivotal role into the ventures that I've done since. That's your cue. So moving on to high school, I've always been someone who was a joiner. I was in every single thing imaginable. I was in band, I played the baritone, I was in drama, I did musicals like Gilligan's Island and The Breakfast Club and things like that. I was in cheerleading, I was in the peer mentorship program. I did so much in high school. I was that person who had to have her hand in every single thing imaginable. I was also in student council, and eventually I became president of student council. I was very proud of myself. And me and my best friend at the time, Joey, he was also in student council. And one of the things I loved doing was the morning announcements, okay? So we would do the morning announcements. And as student council, we were responsible for planning a variety of like events and pep rallies and that kind of thing. And we also planned a barbecue. So So me being me, I'm like, okay, well, how are we gonna market this barbecue? How are we gonna get people interested? How are we gonna put our fun spin on it? So I'm like, you know what? We need to come up with something to kind of perform over the PA system for the entire school. Let me take a sip of water real quick. This is very important, okay. Now, again, this is me in high school. And there was a musical artist around that time who I felt was, I don't know, the voice of our generation. I'm not sure if you guys remember him. His name is 50 Cent. We remember? Okay. Who knows the song Candy Shop by 50 Cent? Okay, you guys are so cool. That's awesome. All right, so me, again, having this marketing brain inside me, I'm like, okay, that's a popular song, right? I can't even do it. I can do it. It's a very popular song. You know, our classmates love it, and we need to sell tickets to this damn barbecue. So I created a little jingle to the tune of Candy Shop. So me and Joey, we get on the PA system and we're talking, and he's like, hey, Charmaine, like, what are we gonna do for lunch tomorrow? I'm like, Joey, you haven't heard? He's like, heard what? There's gonna be a barbecue. He's like, whoa, like, am I invited? I'm like, are you invited? Listen. I'll take you to the barbecue. Make sure that you get lots of food. It'll only cost $1 or $2. You can also have a piece of fruit. Whoa. He's like, Charmaine, that sounds amazing, but wait, I have a friend who's vegetarian. Can they come too? Like, what do you have for them? I'm like, Joey, listen to me. Well, they can have a veggie dog. We'll be sure to serve it nice and hot, and we'll even put it on a bun, and then we'll all have lots of fun. Whoa. See, rhythm and creativity, it all circles back. So essentially, again, that was who I was all throughout childhood, elementary, high school. I was that person who wanted to be in everything, who wanted to have fun promoting things that I felt were of value to my family, my friends, my classmates, and that sort of thing. Then going back a little bit, in grade 8, I heard about the Creative Communications program at RSC Polytech, which is Red River College at the time. Woo-woo! And with the Creative Communications program, the idea is it's a 2-year program. The first year, you get to explore media production, which was TV and radio. journalism, public relations, and advertising. And the second year, you pick one of those, and that would be kind of like your specialty. And with that, there was an option to do a joint degree with the University of Winnipeg. And at the time, I'm like, hey, yeah, let's do that. So I actually went to the University of Winnipeg first. And again, me being a joiner, I joined a bunch of different things. I was on the Uniter and different things like that. But also, I decided to join a sorority. Did you know we even had sororities in Winnipeg? We have sororities, we have fraternities. They're still active to this day. Next slide, please. So I joined a sorority called Alpha Phi. Those are my sisters. With the sorority system, the way it works, it's for universities only. And it was girls from both U of W and the University of Manitoba. With the sorority, you were able to hold different positions on kind of like the board of directors type of thing. So for me, I ran for vice president of marketing, of course. I was director of philanthropy and also director of sisterhood. Because for me, I always knew that I would grow up, have my own business, and once I heard about the CreCom program, I knew I wanted to get into advertising, marketing, some form of communication. So I wanted to use my time in my sorority, not just to party, we did a lot of that too, but to also gain some valuable experience that will help me in school and then later on in my career and eventually in business. So once I was done with the sorority, I was in that for a couple of years, and I was done with my education at the U of W. I got my BA in Rhetoric and Humanities and Communications. It was time to move on to Creative Communications at Red River. So like I said, the CreCom was a multifaceted program, and I love the fact that I can learn so many valuable skills in such a short amount of time. It was very fast-paced. There was a lot of room to be creative. There were so many amazing projects that we did in that program that I never imagined doing in school. For one, I did a red dress gala and fashion show. Back when I was in the sorority and I was the director of philanthropy, I was responsible for planning a red dress gala and, being in a group of 18, 20-year-old girls, some things kind of happened, there's a little bit of drama, and I didn't get to finish planning my gala. So I'm like, you know what, redemption. So when I got to CreCom and they had the opportunity to create a big project entirely from scratch on my own, I decided this is my time to replan the Red Dress Gala and Fashion Show, and I did it in support of the Heart and Stroke Foundation. The reason why I chose this project, not just for redemption, but also because it's one of those things where I knew I can put all the skills I've been learning in CreCom to good use. I handpicked designers who I asked them, can you, in addition to whatever collection you want to showcase, can you also design from scratch a red dress for this event? And at the time, I didn't realize how crazy of an ask that was, but apparently it was. But they were very excited to do it, and I was very grateful to them. But I used my video skills to go to their either their home or their shop and to create promo videos of these designers to help promote the event. I took a lot of photos to use in my marketing materials. I got a lot of interviews on, I think, breakfast television and radio and things like that. I did a lot because I wanted, again, this to give me a chance to test all of the skills and the tools I've gained in CreCom so far. So that for me was one of the pivotal moments in my college career, and it's something I look back to fondly. I've actually did it again the following year. It was super fun, and yeah, it was a good time. Another project that I was surprised I was able to do in college, we had a magazine project that all students had to do in groups, and we got to pick our own topics. So we decided to be a little edgy, and we did a magazine about sex. So with that magazine, we wanted to make sure it wasn't like something crass or anything. We wanted to make sure it's something that represented real stories, real experiences, and to show all the different perspectives around the topic. So with that, again, it was a multifaceted project where we got to incorporate media production and advertising and all that fun stuff. And then I also wrote an article for this magazine. The article was loosely based on female circumcision, but there was a lot more to that story, but that's one of the things that kind of stood out for a lot of people. So fast forward a couple of weeks after we had our big magazine fair, we are in a seminar that I think we did every week, every Thursday, and someone was coming to present some journalism awards to some of our classmates. So I'm sitting in the back with my friends, we're kind of talking and giggling because that's what you do when you all get together, and I hear my name. I don't react because I'm like, I don't know why this guy up there is saying my name, but that's cool. So we're kind of sitting there talking, and he says my name again, and he's like, oh, Charmaine, you won. And I'm like, how did I win a contest that I didn't enter? But apparently my journalism instructor at the time liked the article that I wrote for this magazine so much that he submitted it on my behalf without telling me. So then I did win the journalism award and $500, which I was very excited to have. I think I bought a new bike. And again, it's just an example of so many amazing opportunities that for me have really stemmed from my time at RRC, and that continue to stem from that connection. I was talking to Christian earlier about how not only did I hear about CreCom when I was in grade 8, and I knew for sure that's what I wanted to do, my mind never wavered. Not only did I graduate from RRC, I worked there for a year and got to really know a lot of people in the communications and marketing departments. I've done work for them, for their social media. I've done radio ads and things like that. And well, now I'm promoting RRC. I don't know why, but because I love it so much, and I find there's so much value in what they're doing and the education they're providing and the support that they provide to their alumni even far after the fact. So that's my little RRC spiel. Also want to say, I think she's over there. Is Jackie over there? Yeah, she's right here, and she's right here. So Jackie Wild, who's also amazing, she's someone I met in CreCom. She was actually one of the first guests I had on a radio show that I had when I was in college. So I created a radio show called Winnipeg's Finest, where I interviewed a lot of people in Winnipeg who I thought were interesting and special and doing really cool things. And she had a really cool project that she was doing around the same time I was doing my Red Dress Gala. So I wanted to include her in my show, and I wanted to include her in here because I knew she was going to be right over there. Okay. Next slide, please. So after CreCom, I was excited to kind of get into my more professional career, and I applied to be an event planner with a company here in Winnipeg, and I planned a variety of different events. So we did a lot of weddings. A lot of them were East Indian weddings that had at least 600 people or more, and I was intimidated at first because I had never planned events on such a large scale before, but it was a great opportunity to, again, really test my creativity and to continue working at a fast pace and to really keep up with that rhythm. Like I said, I was always a joiner when I was in elementary and high school and university. CreCom was a very fast-paced program. I really needed to keep up with that rhythm because for me, that's what motivates me to continue pushing forward and to continue testing my levels of creativity. So I became an event planner, did a lot of weddings, did a lot of conferences and galas and all that fun stuff. And after about a year and a half, I was ready for a change. So a friend of mine who graduated with CreCom with me also was telling me, hey, I think it's time for you to change. And I moved to Lac-La-Biche, Alberta, and I think that's perfect for you. I'm like, oh, never heard of it, but let's check it out. Has anyone ever heard of Lac-La-Biche, Alberta? Really? Have you been there? Really? Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. So it's a very small town, and when I say small, there's one traffic light, there's no McDonald's, there's no sushi, there's no shopping mall, there's no movie theater, there's nothing. But I stayed there for 2 years, and I really did enjoy my time there. It was nice to be in a more outdoorsy kind of space. I moved there to work as an event coordinator for a place called Portage College. So I would plan, next slide please. I would plan a variety of different galas and events that were geared towards raising money for our students, or our sports program, for our culinary arts program, lots of different things. And what I liked about this job is that it gave me more creative freedom. The job I had in Winnipeg beforehand was great, but I found that I didn't have a chance to input too much of my own ideas, and I felt like I reached a point where that's as far as I can go in this type of environment. So working at Portage College really gave me the opportunity to, again, test my, creative limits and to try and incorporate some new things the college has never seen before. So in addition to doing a bunch of galas, I'm not sure if you recognize any of these people, but this is Chuck Hughes. He has a few restaurants in Montreal. He's been on You Gotta Eat Here and things like that. This was Ray Bork from the Boston Bruins. I don't remember this guy. Do you guys know him? He's an Oiler alum. Nobody knows him in the corner? I feel so bad. I should have looked him up. Paul Coffey, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Thank you, Paul Coffey. I'm not really a sports person, but I knew these are people that people would be excited about. So in addition to planning these events, these are events that they usually have, but I put my extra kind of flavor on it to kind of spice it up a bit. But I also really was passionate about providing opportunities to our students to engage with one another and have some fun. So I did a series of events that I called Girls Night Out. Essentially, it was for our female students, and with that, they would come to the college in the evening, we would play movies, we would order pizza, and at the college that I worked at, we had different, I think we had 8 different campuses, but the one I worked at, we did have a lot of students who were going through some financial hard times. So what I wanted to do is I encourage a lot of our female staff to donate some of their gently used clothing and things like that. So then our students can kind of come and like shop and grab some free things as well. It was super fun. We did that in, I think, 3 different campuses, Lac-La-Biche, St. Paul, and Cold Lake. And then they asked me, what about the boys? I'm like, what about the boys? I don't know. So I did try and plan something for the boys, but by the time that was coming to fruition, it was almost time for me to move on. So I worked there for 2 years, and like I said, I did enjoy my time, and I did learn a lot of valuable skills there. But I always knew being an entrepreneur was something that was always in the back of my mind. Like, that's what I'm working towards. So I had to decide whether or not I was going to make that move now, or if I wanted to gain a bit more, industry experience and do it at a time where I felt a bit more ready. So I asked a bunch of friends, like, hey, do you guys think I should, move to Toronto and work for a PR firm and get more agency experience? Or should I just come back to Winnipeg and see if I can grow, in my hometown and that kind of thing? And a lot of people were like, well, no, you should get more experience. Why not move to Toronto and do that? So of course, being me, I did the opposite. I moved back home because really that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted that validation, but I didn't get it. Anyways, next slide, please. While I was still living in Lac-La-Biche, I did start my marketing business, Strategic Charm Boutique, in 2016. I am not a graphic designer, still to this day. This is the logo I created. I literally stole this clover. I Googled 4-leaf clover. The first one that popped up, I took it. I changed the color, I slapped some text on it, and that was my logo for the first couple of years. But what I liked about being a service-based business is that I had low cost to get started. There wasn't a lot of overhead. I didn't need a lot of products and a lot of software to get started. So I wanted to be really thrifty and kind of do things on my own for as long as possible. So I created my own logo, designed my own website, and I was ready to go. Before I officially launched, I wanted to make sure I did as much research as I could about the creative industry and entrepreneurship. I spent a lot of time watching people live on an app called Periscope. Anyone remember Periscope? Yeah, it was run by Twitter. That was like my jam. I loved it. I loved watching people. I loved learning from people. I would watch it every chance I get. I would watch people like Jenna Kutcher and a bunch of other people who are still pretty relevant today. And those people, because they're also in a creative field, really inspired me to just start something and figure out the steps along the way. So when I did launch Strategic Charm Boutique initially in 2016, I did focus on event planning services, mainly because I'm like, I've been an event planner for a couple of years now. I've done the Red Dress Gala. I've done a bunch of weddings and things like that. I was still living in Lac-La-Biche at the time, and I was working as an event planner there. And for months, I was promoting these event planning services because I envisioned people would find me on my little website that I made with my crap graphics and fly me out to all these places to plan their events, and that didn't happen. So after I found that, I need to make a shift and focus on something that makes a bit more sense, especially for where I lived at the time. I was the event planner in that town already. There was no opportunities where I was locally. So I'm like, this agency was also going to incorporate marketing and public relations and things like that. So let's shift my focus a bit to Instagram marketing. Instagram for me was something I was having a lot of fun with when I was growing my business. Even personally, I had a lot of fun on Instagram, posting pictures of my food, my cat, whatever people liked, which is still relevant today. But I figured, let's focus on that because I think that might make more sense and will attract the right people to my business. So after shifting that focus, I decided, okay, let's do a little Instagram giveaway in which I give away 1 month of free content management for Instagram for one person. So one person entered that giveaway, or a bunch of people entered the giveaway. One person won. I worked with her for a while. She's actually also an event planner, which is pretty cool. So I did her Instagram for a month. And then after that month was over, she's like, well, can you just keep doing it? I'll pay you. I'm like, Perfect, let's do it. So I remember I charged, I think, $300 a month. And back then, I didn't really know how finances and stuff work when it comes to business. I'm like, oh, I have $300. I'm gonna go shopping. I'm gonna buy my sushi. I'm gonna drive to Edmonton. I did a whole bunch with that $300. But that was the pivotal moment in Strategic Charm. I'm like, okay, this is the direction I'm supposed to be going with this business. I'm happy that I allowed myself time to really explore other avenues within the agency, but it was that moment that I'm like, okay, this is the path that I'm supposed to be on. So like I said, I was still in Lac-La-Biche when I started my business in 2016, and I was on like a 2-year, not contract, but essentially if I moved there, they paid for my moving expenses as long as I stayed there for at least 2 years. I'm like, okay, I'm coming up in 2 years. I started my business like 6 months ago. I think I'm ready to make that change. So I was getting ready to quit. I typed out my letter of resignation on my computer at work, and I was ready to go. I started packing already. And then I got pulled into the office one day with the president of the college and the head of HR. I'm like, oh, this is a weird meeting. And unfortunately, it was during a time where a lot of people were getting laid off in Alberta, and I was one of those people because we were planning these big events and looking for big sponsors who were also laying off their team. So like a lot of those things that were happening at the time didn't make sense. So I understood that my job apparently was no longer needed. I'm like, you know what? That's perfect because I was going to quit anyways. And luckily that came with a little severance package, and I was on EI and that kind of thing. I'm like, you know what? Now I can continue to move home as planned, and that will give me a chance to really focus on my business and really growing and making connections here and seeing how far I can push that. So I'm going to jump around a little bit here, but when I moved back to Winnipeg, I was looking for a community that I can be a part of because I was the only entrepreneur I really knew locally, like at the time, and I wanted to meet more. I wanted to learn more about, honing in on my craft and just different things I didn't know. Next slide, please. So I went to a variety of different networking events, and some of them are great, some of them not the best. I didn't feel, I don't know, it was just different. Like some of them are a little too stuffy for what I was looking for. I found some were a bit disingenuous, and it was just like, it just wasn't the right fit. So I'm like, either I can stop looking for my place, or I can create a place where I find that maybe other people who are like me, who want something where they can connect with other professionals, but still maintain who they are as a person and be comfortable and relaxed. So I'm like, you know what, let's start my own thing. So that's where Hustle and Charm was born. So Hustle and Charm is a community of women and women in business that I started in 2017. So a year after I started the marketing agency, I started another business. Initially, it's just going to be like a free thing where we get together once a month, very casual, nothing like super official. But as I was planning for a launch event and things like that, it was taking a lot of time, and it was taking time away from the marketing agency. And, like as a human, you have to pay your bills and put some food on the table. So I'm like, oh, I'm spending so much time on this. I need to attach some sort of payment to it because that is the only way I'm going to be able to do this long term. Plus, I find that sometimes that holds people accountable to being active and that kind of thing. And that scared me at first because I'm like, I'm so passionate about this, and it feels weird to attach a dollar amount to like a membership or events or things like that. And I wanted to be as accessible as possible. I didn't want finance to be a barrier for people who are wanting to find a community. So I'm like, you know what, let's make it low cost. Let's incorporate a lot of free events where we can. And let's just really do our best to try and make this something that's going to be of value to a lot of people. So it was definitely, something that was a bit scary, but it really, again, is another full circle moment because, like I said, back when I was in my sorority, not only was I the VP of marketing, I was the director of sisterhood. So we planned a lot of events. Like I said, when I was in Portage College, I planned, girls' nights for our students. And that's something that I incorporated without even thinking about it into Hustle and Charm. So in addition to creating workshops and seminars and just opportunities to grow in business, I wanted people to make genuine connections and friendships. I've said this a million times, but it's so hard to make friends as an adult. Not just people that you meet and you talk about work and that kind of thing, but people you can go out for coffee with, dinner with, go on a trip with, and that kind of thing. So in order to incorporate that into Hustle and Charm, I decided, what we're going to do? We are going to plan pajama parties for adults. I was a little worried about it at first, because I'm like, maybe not everyone's like me and wants to have, a networking event in that capacity. But the first one we did, we sold out of all our tickets. We ordered a bunch of pizza. We were all in our pajamas. We were playing music. We were dancing. I brought my projector and we were watching Saved by the Bell in the corner. It was a lot of fun. So it was a way to like network in the most relaxed atmosphere possible. There was a lot of sangria flowing. It was a really good time. So I wanted to make sure those types of experiences were consistent throughout the community, because I wanted people to have another sense of belonging in that way. So moving back to Strategic Charm, while I was building the marketing agency and while I was, starting up Hustle and Charm and that kind of thing, I had my hands in a lot of different things, but I felt I still didn't have a grasp on really how to grow and to scale. So I'm like, maybe I should get another more traditional 9-to-5 job. So luckily, I got connected to the college and I started working at RRC, and I was their event coordinator as well. And like I said, I love being a student there. I love working there. It gave me a chance to do something I really truly loved and enjoy with people I really connected with, while also having time to work on my business, evenings, weekends, and I took Fridays off from my day job to work on that. So I worked there for a year, and in that time, I really kind of bear down on my business and try to figure out how to make it more financially sustainable. And in early 2019, I think, is when I was able to quit my day job. So I gave in my 2 weeks notice, and I knew I was going to quit. So I booked, before I actually quit, I booked a flight to Palm Springs because I'm like, I'm going to quit anyway, so I'm going to be gone by the time this conference I wanted to go to happens. And then my boss was like, oh, can you stay for like 6 more weeks? I'm like, I'm going to Palm Springs in 2 weeks, but if you want me to come back after that, I will for a couple of weeks. He's like, yeah, sure. I'm like, okay, cool. So I did that, but it was nice to have that moment where I felt like all the things I've been working to up until that point were really coming to fruition. And I didn't feel 100% stable, but I felt stable enough that I was ready to take that leap and to see where things go. And I haven't had to look back since. So I felt like it was a good move for me. In terms of how I really felt like I grew Strategic Charm and the marketing side of what I was doing, it really came down to focusing on showcasing my personal brand. That's what I still talk about to this day. I remember I used to be on Snapchat a lot, not necessarily for business, but to have a platform to talk to people in like a video format. And then once Instagram stories became a feature on Instagram, I almost entirely ditched Snapchat and used Instagram stories to really talk to my audience, engage with people, let my personal brand shine through. And that's where I started to see an uptake in clients for social media management and strategy sessions and things like that. Same thing for Hustle and Charm. When I was on there, just talking about what I'm passionate about, talking about what I'm drinking in the morning, just things like that. That's what helped me connect with people on a more personal level. And that's what helped us continue to grow. With Hustle and Charm in particular, I initially was promoting that on my Strategic Charm social media, so like on our Instagram, on our Facebook, and on our Strategic Charm website. So I had the marketing agency, that's where I was promoting Hustle and Charm, and we were seeing growth, but it wasn't until I decided to make Hustle and Charm its own identity and give it its own socials and its own website that we really saw a boom in membership and in interest. So I think when we launched our website, we had, I think, 18 to 20 people sign up that day, which was amazing. And again, that was another moment where I knew, okay, this is something that I think I can make work. Next slide, please. So moving on, again, I felt like I was in a place where I was in a good rhythm. Again, for me, it was the consistency and the drive to keep moving forward. Not everything I did worked for me, but I was able to pivot and know that I can keep going. I always say businesses only fail because people stop trying, right? People are like, I've been doing this for 2 days and it's not working, let me not do it. I've been doing it for 2 weeks, 2 years, whatever, let's not do it anymore. But if it's something you're truly passionate about and you feel that there's a lot of value you can offer to people, it's just a matter of pivoting and trying to find your place in a way to make it work. I always tell a story about this woman, I think she lives in the States. And she still has this business, I think. She goes into the woods by her house and she collects moose poop, okay? She picks up moose poop in the woods, brings her little balls of moose poop back home and turns it into clocks and other artwork. And people buy it. It's called Turdy Works. And it does work. there's a niche for everything. There's a need for everything. There's an audience for any product, any service, any idea you want to put out there. And I find, again, when people say, oh, this didn't work, I didn't like this, no one liked it, it's just a matter of trying to make sure you don't lose your drive and your passion in the rhythm to keep you moving forward. So now, I don't know, 6-7 years into both businesses, there's a lot of different changes I've made over the years. And I think in addition to giving myself a creative outlet in my businesses, again, like I said, I have to be doing a lot of things all the time. I don't know what it is, it's just who I am. So a few years ago, started getting into public speaking, which has been a lot of fun. I remember the first time someone asked me to give a speech, I'm like, oh, what would I even talk about? I have no idea. But I was excited for the opportunity. And after speaking at that one event, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make it my goal to speak at 3 to 5 events next year. And that following year, I think I booked 12 speaking gigs without even thinking. I didn't apply to anything. I wasn't thinking about it. This kind of happened. But me putting it out in the universe and really believing in, how passionate I am about connecting with people and giving value where I can, it's what, to me, I feel got the universe to be like, you know what, let's give her, instead of 3 to 5, let's give her 12 opportunities to speak to different audiences. So I've been grateful enough to speak at a lot of different local events, seminars, conferences, things like that. And that was and will always continue to be a lot of fun for me and a lot of value because, again, I love connecting with my own community. But it was a different experience getting to have the opportunity to speak on international stages, right? So I spoke a couple of times at a conference called Alt Summit in Palm Springs, which has been amazing. This year I spoke at the H&H America's Craft Conference in Chicago, which was awesome. And having those experiences to speak to different people, because sometimes it's different speaking to a room where you know nobody. I know half of you guys, which is awesome, which is why I feel so calm right now, but it was a way to push me out of my comfort zone a little bit and to kind of test my own boundaries. And it's something that I feel invigorates me and inspires me to do more when I do come back home and, working on business and growing my own community. I remember in last year, 2022, I went to the Adobe Max conference. Everyone ever heard of it? Adobe Max? Okay, so when I was working in Portage College years ago, we had our professional development fund where we were able to go to conferences and things like that, once or twice a year. And one of my colleagues went to Adobe Max. It's really a conference for a lot of creatives, whether you're into photography, videography, design, marketing, things like that. And I was so jealous because I had never heard of it before. But when she came back and shared her experiences with me, I'm like, wow, that's something I hope I can attend one day. And a few years later, it still hasn't happened. I'm like, okay, one day I'm gonna go and I'm gonna really immerse myself in that experience. And I was fortunate enough to be invited as a paid speaker to that conference. So not only was I a paid speaker, they bought me a flight, they got the hotel, everything like that. I'm like, I can't believe my dream, or one of my dreams, was to attend this conference as an attendee, buy a ticket, but they're asking me to come and speak, not once, not twice, but I think I did 4 or 5 different sessions in the matter of 2 or 3 days. And it was one of those moments I keep talking about that kind of reassured me that I'm on the right path, that I'm making some sort of difference, that my creative endeavors are of value to people, and that I'm headed in the direction that I really want to go in, which has been amazing for me. Another thing that I do is I teach digital marketing at the University of Winnipeg. I think I mentioned it maybe briefly in the beginning. That's funny because when I was in high school, the teacher advisor for our student council group, she would always tell me, oh, you should be a teacher. My drama teacher would tell me I should be a teacher because we had to give presentations in drama, and I made them very interactive with people. She's like, yeah, you should be a teacher. And I'm like, no. Because I don't know, I felt like I knew that if I became a teacher, I wouldn't have the opportunity to do a lot of other things. I was wrong, but that's the way I was thinking at the time. Okay, that's the way I was thinking. See, I told you it was too long. That's what I was thinking about at the time. Well, I don't know. And they wanted me to be a high school teacher. Not that I wouldn't have wanted to do that, but I knew it wouldn't be something I could do long term because, like I said, I like to do a bunch of different things. But again, another full circle moment, I started teaching at the University of Winnipeg a few years ago. Thanks to Kelly Thibodeau, actually, who recommended me. I appreciate that. And I still teach there to this day. And what I liked about doing that is, again, it gave me another creative outlet and gave me a chance to really engage with students. And I felt a sense of, I don't know if it's pride, value, or something in teaching younger, well, not all younger, but like younger students about the world of marketing and getting them excited and seeing how eager they are to learn. Because that's who I was years ago when I heard about CreCom and I went to university. I was so eager to learn and I wanted to soak in as much value as possible because I knew that's what I needed to get to where I wanted to be in my career and in my future business. So doing that has been something that I've been passionate about. I don't always have the capacity to teach a lot of classes, but it's something I've really enjoyed over the years. Next slide, please. So this is one of my first classes. When I started teaching, it was in 2020 during the pandemic. So of course we had to do everything virtually, but it was a lot of fun. Again, I taught a lot of international students. So some of them were from different parts of India, different parts of China, different parts of Europe. They were kind of from all over, which was cool because I got to kind of hear about how marketing looks in their area, something that I haven't really considered too much before. So not only was I fortunate enough to teach them, they taught me a lot as well. I also like to travel a lot, especially in the last couple of years. So anytime I get to travel for business, whether it's speaking at Alt Summit in Palm Springs or Adobe Max in Los Angeles or H&H Americas in Chicago, I recently, I think it was last year, my first year? Yeah, I became a Canadian youth delegate for the G20 Young Entrepreneurs Alliance summit that happens every year in different parts of the world. The Canadian delegation is organized by Futurepreneur, which I think they're based in Toronto, I can't remember. But last year's my first year attending. So last year the summit was in Germany, which is amazing. I'd never been to Germany before. And not only was it a chance for me to go to a new country and learn some new things, I really actually connected a lot with the Canadian delegation. We spent, over a week together learning about each other's businesses and how to help each other. And again, I feel that it's important to be always in a constant state of learning. I think sometimes we feel like, oh, I've been doing this for years, like I know everything, but that's not the case, especially when it comes to creative fields. Things are always changing, things are always moving at a fast pace, and it's always important to really keep an open mind and allow yourself to continue to grow as a human and as an entrepreneur. Next slide, please. In addition to traveling for business, I love traveling for fun. And I only put this in here because Jackie talked to me about it yesterday. She's like, are you gonna put that in there? I'm like, yeah. So traveling for business, of course, it teaches me new things. It gets me to connect with other like-minded people. But traveling for fun, for leisure, has also been a way for me to reignite some of my creativity. I find exploring new places, being in different atmospheres, immersing myself in different cultures motivates me and inspires me. And I don't know what it is about travel, but I feel a lot of people can probably relate. When you go somewhere for a week or two and you come back, you feel like you want to improve all aspects of your life, your relationships, your home, your business, your career, your health, everything. So me being able to travel gives me a chance to, come back inspired and wanting to continue to work on myself personally and professionally. Not to mention, I get to meet people who carry out a variety of different jobs in a more traditional 9-to-5 setting. And I love continuing to learn from not just entrepreneurs, but people who do work in a more traditional setting, because I find that there are some tools, tactics, and values that I've kind of forgotten over the years, being kind of so immersed in my own thing. But being around other people is just, again, is one of those things that really reignites my creativity. And that's pretty much it. So the last part, I'm going to read verbatim because I wrote it out all nice. So pretty much what I wanted to say is that steady rhythm isn't just about repetitive actions to get you started, but moving with passion and purpose while remaining creative in seemingly oversaturated spaces is what helps carry you to long-term growth and success. The movements you make can change, but you have to keep moving to get to where you want to go. Remember, consistency at all stages of your personal and professional growth is what helps to cultivate community, build trust, nurture relationships, and continue to find yourself. Thank you.